So you finally got Venomess unlocked, but she's not doing as much damage as you want her to be doing to get through the content fast, to get that XP and get her to level 30 quickly. Well, I've got the build guide for you right here. This is my Venomous weapon power crit build that I'm planning on making a level 30 version with best in slot later on, but here's the leveling version to help you get through that content as quickly as possible. Now, personally for me, I'm still using the Nightshade with this build. It should work fine with the Tempest or with the Long Shot. I think the Long Shot's probably going to have the highest damage output potential for this particular build because the Tempest is going to be attacking a little bit slow for the playstyle we're trying to build this kit around. The main thing we're going to be looking at first, though, is going to be the Affinity Tree. So for the Affinities, you're going to want to put 5 points into Focus right away. After that, I would put 5 points into Instinct and then 5 points into Discipline. That's basically what I would be doing for leveling. After that, you could go either 15 points into Instinct or Focus, depending on which one of the 15-point talents that you prefer from this tree. Let's go over why we're going for Focus first, though. So the Focus perk here is going to be increased critical strike chance against poison targets by 10%. That is going to be essential for this build because that's going to allow you to crit without stacking crit rating. The 5.4 Instinct is going to give you increased damage over time for your poisons applied by Venomous by 5%. A nice little damage boost, and then the 5 points into Discipline is going to give you 1% max health when you're standing next to one of your poison clouds. That's going to give you a little bit extra survivability, but is not essential. If you want to take that perk, you can. You could even take it before Instinct if you want, or take it after, or just skip it altogether to get more points into Instinct for the status points, or to get Instinct or Focus higher quicker. For the mastery, we're going with critical reload. The effect on this is going to give you a critical strike chance based off of the amount of ammo you reloaded and the tier of the mastery. On a full reload at mastery 1, you get 8% crit. At mastery 2, you get 12% crit. And on mastery 3, you get 16% crit. So with this fully at mastery 3, with the talent we're getting from Focus, you're going to be getting 26% critical strike chance without stacking any crit rating. Your crit rating is going to, of course, add to your critical strike chance. So the meta that we're going for with this build is going to be getting around having to stack critical strike chance or crit rating in order to get the crits and focus more on the weapon power and the crit power. So the stats you're going to be looking for as you're putting together the pieces for this build on your accessories and your echoes. For the offensive stats, your main priority is going to be critical power, followed by weapon power, and then ability power. For the defensive stat priority, the first one is going to be magic defense. Early on in the game, a lot of this stuff is going to one-shot you, or bring you really close to death is going to be the special abilities from the boss, which are going to be ability power-based abilities, and the imbuements from the dungeons are going to be most of the damage you're taking throughout the early game, and that's going to be primarily affecting your magic defense. For your secondary defensive stat, I would go with resilience. That's going to provide you defense against breaking, and when you get broken, you're going to take more damage and be easier to stagger, something you want to avoid at all costs. And then tied for third place, it's going to be balancing your physical defense and your max health to prevent getting one-shotted, and the physical defense to prevent the melee hits that you might take, which are going to be pretty rare. You're going to be able to stay pretty distant with this particular build, with some of the echoes that we're going to be using to help keep that distance. For the ability unlock priorities, if you're not already level 9, I would unlock Transfusion first, followed by Vampiric Blast. Third, I would unlock Venom Thrusters to give you some more synergy with the Vampiric Blast for those clutch heals early on in the game. And for the fourth ability, unlock your ultimate Deep Breath, which is going to give you a nice little burst damage, but since we're not stacking a lot of ability power, this is going to be a little bit of a weak hitting ultimate unless you get that crit, which you're not going to be really getting those crits until you get your first 5 affinity points spent anyways. As far as the echo selection goes, I gave you guys the stat priorities. I would just try to focus on those stat priorities while leveling up. I will eventually get a build up with the best in slot echoes for this weapon, as well as doing the same build with the Long Shot and hopefully the Tempest at some point after I finish getting my Venomous all done. This is going to be focusing on leveling up, so just pick up what you can echo wise based off the stat priorities I listed, which is going to be crit power, followed by weapon power, followed by ability power. And then again, for the defense, you're going to want to go with magic defense, resilience, and then a priority for health and physical defense. The echoes I do want to talk about, though, are going to be ones that are going to make the leveling experience a lot easier. So the first echo we're going to be talking about is the Bloodspawn Echo. This is going to be a great echo to pick up early on, and I would try to farm a better quality than the one I have here. It's only an uncommon. With these echoes, the better quality you get, the cost is going to get reduced. So if you can get this in an epic or a rare quality, that would be perfect. This is going to cause a physical damage explosion based off your weapon power to enemies surrounding the point of impact, and it reduces their speed by 50%. This is going to give you the ability to kite monsters, and it's on a 30-second cooldown. So if you get swarmed by a lot of little monsters that do melee damage, you can jump up, use your heavy attack to slow them down, and then escape with the venom thrusters or a quick dodge, and then burn them down with your gun. The other echo I want to talk about is the Beastmaster Rush Echo. The great thing about this one is that it triggers by landing a critical strike. It is on a 30-second cooldown, and because of this echo, I've actually discovered that your poison damage or your venom damage can actually crit, which makes this build even better during boss fights because all of those dots you're stacking up on the boss are all going to be able to crit as well. Once you have your mastery to level 2, this thing should be on cooldown 100% of the time, because as soon as it comes off cooldown, one of your dots or one of your shots is going to trigger it instantly. This thing can cause 3 different effects. The effect that happens the least is the Vulture. From what I've seen, this effect rarely triggers. What that effect does is it leaves a path of frost in the wake of the point of damage. The other effect, which is personally the one I like the best, is Panther. This is going to increase your critical strike rating by a significant amount. This is pretty nice for helping get even more crits in, especially on your dots that you've already got stacked up on the targets. And then the Bear is just going to cause a slam, which I'm pretty sure is based off of weapon power in the area of the point of impact of that critical strike. So with this build, I've been able to solo stuff up to -1000 power rating. This includes doing the final zone of the game at like level 20, which that zone is like a power rating 2600, and I'm only sitting at like a 1500 power rating on this build currently. I mean, it's doing pretty good in there. I'm not really struggling to clear out that content while I'm trying to farm up some stuff from there and get some really good XP on the character to try to finish getting it to level 30. So if you guys have your Affinity set up in a way where you can test this out, I highly recommend you guys give this build a shot. I'm going to be working on a best in slot version of this build at level 30 with 3 different weapons later on. Hopefully I'll get that out pretty soon. Again, keep in mind this is the leveling version of this build. I'm going to get the final version of the build all wrapped up here in the next week or 2. I'm working on a couple other builds for other characters at the same time. So if you guys are interested in getting some more build guides for different characters, let me know what characters you're interested in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you guys are looking for an active Wayfinder community to join, check the link in the video description for my Discord server. We've got a bunch of people actively playing Wayfinder on there right now. And until next time, guys, happy hunting.